Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I would like to talk about China's diplomacy in Greenland. I would like to talk about China's diplomacy in Greenland. And let's start from China's interest in Greenland, or what may Greenland offer. A brief overview. So first, scientific research. China's scientific involvement in the Arctic can be traced back to 1980s, and its governmental official expressed the state's concern in various occasions over the climate change in the Arctic affecting China. Greenland, the biggest island with 81% of its land covered by snow and vast glaciers, provide a natural research field. Second is natural resources. China seeking overseas natural resources is not a secret. In the case of Greenland, one of the most significant resources are rare earth elements, or you can shortly call it REEs. Currently, China is the biggest REEs consumer and producer, and Greenland reported to be one of the biggest large REE deposits in the world. REE plays an important role in modern industry in the 21st century, such as electronic equipment used in daily life, like this smartphone in my hands, and as well as in national defense. Greenland has been targeting China as a crucial mining partner and export destination. Third is polar tourism. Polar tourism is becoming a new favorite of Chinese tourism industry, and the number of Chinese tourists to the polar regions has increased in recent years, and is one of the largest sources of polar tourists. I worked as a tour guide before for a big Chinese group of 30 people in Iceland 2 years ago. Many of them have been to Antarctic. For the middle class in China, expenses to the polar region is affordable. But the question is how they can do the trip and who they can contact. Greenland is becoming increasingly available to Chinese tourists, since many of them see it as a neighbor destination just next to Iceland. Fourth is fishery. One of the main interests of China in Greenland is fish, such as halibut. Clean seafood is increasing in popularity among Chinese consumers. For Greenland, fishing is the most important industry, accounting for over 90% of its country's export value. Last but not least, laborers. China has a long history of sending laborers abroad, and Greenland's demanding for foreign workers is mounting. And next, let's have a look at the challenges that Greenland might face. First, construction. Because of time limited, I'm only to focus on the tourism-related issues. First is language. Greenlandic and Danish are the major languages spoken on the island, and many of the local employees working in the tourism industry are not able to communicate in English, not to mention the Chinese language. According to my experience working in the Icelandic tourism, a grade of Chinese travelers prefer Chinese-speaking customer service and even tour guide. And here's the question: how can we train more local employees to understand the preference and the needs of the Chinese travelers? Second is transportation. I wonder how many of our audience have been to Nuuk, the capital of Greenland, through Denmark. You might still remember that your flight was not directly connected between Copenhagen and Nuuk, but had a stop over in Kangerlussuaq. I'm not trying to deny that it did give you a chance to go above the Arctic Circle, but it's more time consuming. Currently, 3 airports have been planned to expand to accommodate more direct flight from Europe and North America, including the one in Nuuk. As I have learned from Greenland, 6 companies have been shortlisted as potential partners, including one from China. The plan sounds promising. However, there will be more subsequent issues such as which company will be chosen, and when it will start, how long it takes, any foreign laborers, from where. Besides airports, I want to remind you that there's no roads to connect different regions in Greenland. Are we going to build roads? If yes, when and where? The next is mass tourism. Mass tourism is a form that thousands of tourists flowing in one destination at the same time, which is widely regarded as unsustainable. When I was in a presentation given by Alika Hamann, the former Prime Minister of Greenland, she expressed that the Greenland tourism could be beneficial from more travelers to come, but not mass tourism. However, with all this publicity and expanding forms of transportation in the future, how can we assure that there won't be mass tourism in Greenland? And next, it's political arrangement. Currently, Greenland has Greenland has its representation in Denmark, US, and to the EU to deal with its relationship with these regions, especially the issues and sectors of significance to Greenland, such as economically. However, given that Greenland's fishing export to China, hiring laborers from China, increasing its economic relationship with China, there's no representation in China. You might ask, why not sending some representative there? And the next point I'm going to discuss might give you some hints. Greenland is the biggest island in the world, but its population is only around 57,000. Higher education in Greenland started pretty late, and many of the Greenlanders go abroad, most likely Denmark, to get university education. No offense if we have any audience from Greenland, but according to my interviews with some Greenlandic political advisors and activists, a diplomat representation who understand Asia are still in serious inefficiency. And next, we're going to talk about the mining sector issues. First one is anti-corruption. Transparency International Greenland wants that public works, oil exploration, and mining operation can be among the industries at most risk of corruption. With a potential mining project started in the future, how to prevent corruption should be taken into consideration. The second is the arrival of foreign laborers. Given that China's involvement in mining and other projects in Greenland, several aspects should be taken into consideration, such as welfare for workers, security protection, and other related human rights issues. Although the mining projects are assumed to produce considerable value to boost the Greenlandic economy and even possible independence, however, the public, especially those who are living in the smaller communities or towns near the mining project, perceive this change in a different way. First, they might challenge to the conventional lifestyle. Second, different attitude towards this mining project might drive the local community apart in some other issues not related mining. Third, possible risk of health is one of the biggest concerns. And the fourth, I have to tell you that not all political parties are in favor of mining project in Greenland. Inuit Ataqatiq, or let's say IA, is opposed to uranium mining under partial implication of potential health risk. Next one is the fair contribution of economic gains. The coalition agreement by the upcoming new government of Greenland claims that the mining operation must be done in a way where the nation and people benefit, and implies that the habitant near the mining should be beneficial as much as possible. The goal sounds rosy, but how can we assure that? And the last one is dust disease. The concern is that over-reliance on a specific sector tends to reduce the quality of other sectors, create economic distortions, and increase vulnerability to discussions. Will Dutch disease occur in Greenland with the development of mining? The relationship between Denmark and Greenland, it's difficult to summarize in a few minutes. Therefore, I will only focus on the perspective from future mining project. Legally, reduction of a future Danish subsidy is tightly associated with the revenue gain from mining-related activities. And I would say Greenland is discouraged from engaging in mining without taking a short-term economic hit in order to assure a more stable physical source. Additionally, there have been a number of legal disputes over mining activities between Greenland and Denmark. The Self-Rule Agreement yet solved the dispute over the natural resources ultimately. Both sides tend to interpret engagement respectively when it comes to specific issues, such as uranium and rare earth element exploitation. Can you think of any other external actors that we should take into account? Last, I would like to draw your attention to this matter: spread of the news and updated information, especially if you are not Greenlandic or Danish speaker. How do you access to news of Greenland? I know that there's a thing called Google Translate, which cannot handle the Greenlandic language yet. News and commentary of Greenland in English are much less than those in Greenlandic and Danish. What's worse, sometimes news in English does not reveal what's actually going on in Greenland, but implies wrong information. Are there already 3,000 Chinese workers moving around in Greenland? Is it China dominating the island? I would suggest put yourself in the shoes of Greenlanders and think, how should we get our voices out, claim our stances, tell our stories and happenings? Or maybe you can tell me what you think. You are always welcome to contact me by email for further discussion and maybe even debate. Thank you.